Hey, this is Shanshan. I sell art on shanshan.co and specials on eBay. Today we're going to review Crawl. So subscribe below if you like this video. That'd be awesome. So it has director Alexandre Aja. Caius Scoladero is Holly Keller, the daughter. Barry Pepper is Dave Keller, the dad. Moy Fid Clark is Beth Keller, the other sister. So Holly gets this call from her sister Beth about, her dad isn't picking up the phone, and she's called him quite a few times, and she's like, "Hey, can you go check out Dad?" And he's like, "All right, I'll go check on Dad. I don't know what's this guy's problem. It's a hurricane coming, and the family house is in Florida, down by the Keys, so it's quite dangerous." So she drives down there. She gets to the roadblock and then meets this cop who's kind of the ex-boyfriend of Beth. He's like, no, you can't go around. So he's like, fine. So she circles around and then she cuts through off the side. So she actually has to do some off-roading through people's lawns and stuff just to get to the house, right? She's very determined, a lot of tenacity. And she goes, seeks out her dad, and he's not in the condo. And then it turns out he's actually at her old house, which they're supposed to be selling, and he's fixing it out or something. He's in the basement. She goes down in the basement. She's like, Dad. And then she gets in the basement. It's kind of a little, getting wet a little bit. The water's starting to come in. He's like, where is he? And then they find out there's a crocodile in there, right? And her dad's kind of trapped. And then the water starts coming and it kind of goes from there, right? Yeah, so I mean, as far as the timing, it's very good on the timing. Very sharp. It's only like 88 minutes, an hour and 22 minutes. It's actually under my hour and a half limit. So I really liked how they end the movie just like boom, right where you want it ended. There's no kind of letdown, which is kind of nice. There's not much to explain anyway. It might have been nice, maybe the dad reunites with the mother or something, but the mother's in Paris, so I mean, that obviously saves costs, right? You don't even have to cast for the mother. Obviously, it's a fun movie with a hurricane. There's obviously a lot of water, so water is a really great, from a technical standpoint, you can do a lot of different camera effects, lighting effects, and they use it quite a bit as far as, the reflections off the water, or the murkiness under the water. You have to swim under the water. They show from a crocodile's perspective. They show from the daughter's perspective swimming under the water, the dad's perspective swimming in the water. It's also interesting, too, because they have this backstory of Hallie being a swimmer, and she's actually got a scholarship for swimming, and it all tied back to her dad training her as a swimmer, but now they kind of had a falling out, so it has this really nice build on the character of Hallie as well as the father. You don't really know much about Beth, but she's almost not in the story, so I don't think you really need to develop Beth. It would have been nice a little bit just to kind of have a little bit of tension there. They do have kind of an ex-boyfriend development just a tiny bit, but not much. Yeah, the swimming analogy is really good in the sense that, Hallie's really struggling at college. I know she went to all the high school and she was really good and, trained up, but then when she gets to college, it's a nuts different score. At the same time, her parents have kind of split, and so there's been a falling out with the parents. So there's kind of this uneasy tension, and I think it's affecting her swimming psychologically, and that's what her dad's trying to tell her while they're being chased by this crocodile in their basement, right? And so, yeah, it goes through, and as the house gets fuller and fuller of water, it kind of shows, it's very symbolic in the sense like the disaster from, the mother and the father really getting torn apart, and the daughter separating from the family, and then the whole marriage kind of collapsed. And as the house rises, you kind of get the feeling symbolically of the relationship as it kind of, the kids are in the basement, they're kind of like an idea, they have the kids, and then you get to the first floor, that's kind of the infancy. You get to the second floor, the kids all the way up to high school, right? And then you get to attic, it's really, they're kind of in college, they're not going to need that much. You get to the roof, and it's kind of like they're free. So it's kind of like this whole house this guy's saving, he's kind of hanging on to the memories of his daughters as daughters versus the current nowadays where it's like he should just move on with the new condo, and he's not. So it has this really nice backstory that you really don't expect in a crocodile film. I had no expectations for this film. I was going to go to the other comedian film, but it just seemed like so bad in the marketing. This Stuber film, I was like, oh, dude, do I really want to watch Stuber? I'm like, oh, this looks so painfully bad with the acting. I don't know, maybe it's okay, but it doesn't seem like the reviews are that great, so I figure you can't go wrong with a good scary crocodile movie, right? But they had this really nice build with the daughters, and you go in the house and you see kind of the marks on the walls, old photographs, and you really get the feeling of why the father is so attached to the house. And I totally relate to that in aspect. My parents split when I was very young, so when I go back to my dad's house, there's this emotional touch of this was my childhood up to a certain point, going to where it should have been, and then I took a direct turn to a crazy direction that totally kind of broke my parents' relationship and sent us on this really crazy path all over America. Yeah, so just that I can relate to that symbolism a lot with that house. I still have that kind of connection to my dad's house, but none of the houses I live with my mom, right? They're just, we moved on to on to on, and just had no relationship, totally broken. And so I kind of relate to both characters in the sense that the daughter's not attached. She's like, just leave it go, you can move in your new house. And the dad's like, no, we have to preserve the house. It would have been nice to see a little bit, maybe the daughter, Beth, and the relationship with the father, and Beth with her sister, to see how that trilogy plays. I mean, she's barely in the film, so she's not super necessary for the plot. But it would have been kind of nice to see that dynamic as well as the mother as well. I mean, again, not necessary, but it would have been kind of nice to add that little icing in there. I think it's pretty well developed. Another nice story is, at the same time, they're almost about ready to drown in the basement, right? And the Crocs are holding off the exit, so there's not much they can do. They spot across the way there's these looters in the store. They don't know they're looters, but they're like, hey, they're trying to signal, and these looters are like, we're about ready to get away. Oh, look, there's someone over there. Maybe we'll go check it out. And then as they're going over to maybe help them out, they get eaten by the crocodile. It's such great symbolism of Mother Nature kind of taking its revenge on these, idiot looters just stealing an ATM and some hot dogs and cigarettes, and just really minimal cash payout they're going to make, on this score, just at this small store, versus, stealing maybe the mint or something, which would be worth money maybe. But yeah, and they get completely eaten. It's kind of a nice story, side story of that aspect, because they're possible rescuers, but they could have gotten away if they hadn't kind of screwed around with the robbery and take their time, and hadn't thought about the crocodiles as much, or the alligators. So it has that nice aspect. The alligators aren't super huge; they're just kind of a little bit bigger than normal, I'd say. So that's nice. It's not super crazy with exaggerated effects. Like I think Mega had that kind of crazy stupidness to it. So I really like the aspect they use real natural kind of animals, but still kind of scary. People are losing fingers, arms, people are being torn to shreds. So they really show the danger of alligators in deep water, humans being unfortunately mixed up in it. So it's kind of interesting how nature can just rise the tides a little bit and go from a perfectly nice scenic tourist area to like a complete disaster area where any human can be attacked at any moment. I don't know if it'll be this extreme in a hurricane, but it kind of sets up a nice symbolism in the film. And yeah, I liked it, even though I thought I had no expectations for this film. I still think it's not super great, but it has a lot more character and build to it than you would expect for this type of movie. So I would recommend it for the weekend. Be kind of fun. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.